Plaintiff Linda Jurgensen says the defendant dated her son before he passed away 2 years ago. After her son's death, Linda moved in with the defendant. But after she moved out, the defendant refused to return her property, so she's suing. Defendant Shauna Dilley admits that Linda took her son's death really hard, but says after he passed, Shauna was so busy taking care of Linda that she never had time to process the loss. Shauna insists she only has some of the property Linda is suing for.
Start with you.
All right. I really don't understand, Judge, why Miss Dilley is being the way she is.
Where do you know her from?
She was the girlfriend of my late son, which passed away in August of 2012 from a rare heart disease. That was kind of hard on me.
Sure.
He was 41. He lived with me, and it just made it really hard. When they called me at the hospital to come, I blacked out. And when they finally got me around, I sat for several hours rubbing his arm. They had to pull me away from him.
Sorry to hear that.
So
they were a couple?
Yes, for 3 or 4 years. And Shauna, you know, she's like a daughter to me.
And since that time, what has the relationship been? That was 2012, so.
Yes. And on October of 12, I moved in with Shauna. That was her and my youngest son's decision because I just could not pull my life back together with, you know, my son. So it was their decision that I move in with her in Olathe, Kansas.
How did that go?
Fairly well, but then there was circumstances that I, myself, needed to move back to Missouri.
What year did you decide you needed to go back?
I went back in June of 14.
Okay.
And we was fine, I thought. I mean, we did everything together. We went to bull rides, we went out to eat, we, you know, done a lot of things together, about everything, other than I didn't go to work with her, you know.
Okay.
But yes, I thought everything was fine, and then she told me we was not able to load everything into the vehicles.
Okay. Before we get to that, I guess that's the property you're suing about. Let me allow her to give some background, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, she did take his death really hard and was grieving, and I understand that it was her son, but at the same time, I was so busy taking care of her that I never had a chance to process it. She moved in with me right after his death. She stayed with me for a year and a half, a little more, and then when she moved out, I didn't hear from her for months.
How was it when you all were living together?
It was okay.
What is the reason she moved?
She was having some family issues.
Okay. All right. And you're suing for property you allege she won't return. What happened?
There wasn't room on the vehicles to be able to take it. She told me in front of my son and my cousin that I could leave things downstairs and come back and get them as I needed them or when I had a place to put them.
June of 14?
Yes.
That's when you moved?
Yes.
Did she ever resist giving you your things or tell you?
Yes, I did. I tried to call several times. I have records to that.
Okay.
And text records
I'll
here.
look at those shortly. And what would happen?
And in May, I kept trying to, well, before that, I kept trying to call her, texting her, trying to get a hold of her to be able to go get my things. No answers, no replies. In May of 15, my granddaughter and I went over to Miss Dilley's, and we did not go to the door. I called the Olathe Police Department to come assist me in getting my things.
What did she tell the police?
That it was not a time of convenience.
How did you try and contact her before then, and how often? And
by phone. I have phone and text records here, what I tried.
All right.
And they're
Let's see
kind
them,
of spread
please.
out.
Ma'am, what do you want to tell me about this?
I didn't hear back from her until around October when there was an exchange of some of her property. So months had passed. When she would call or would text, it was all about these things that she alleged were in the house.
Not true.
As a friend, it was never, hey, how are you doing? Nothing like that. She did show up at the house one other time and removed several things from the house. And I did ask her to leave. At that point, she thought there may be one more thing in the basement, maybe some papers. And I said we would have to get back to it. I can't give her what I don't have. These things are not in the house.
Yes, they are.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but you say, yes,
but
they are.
They're there, Your Honor. I left them there. If they're not there, she got rid of them or something.
Ma'am, you say the first time you heard from her was in October?
Yes.
All right, well, she has phone records. She called first week of August several times. And one day on one occurrence, you really wanted your furniture that day.
Yes, sir. Yes, I would like to have my things.
That's right, that came to mind. I was on your mind that day.
Yes.
And why do you think she's making all these calls?
She alleges that there's stuff there. At that time, there was stuff in the house that she came back and she did collect.
I didn't get all of it.
She's alleging there's stuff there. There's nothing there in the house.
There is things there.
So, what were you telling her? The 2 times she called in August and the 30 times she called in October of 14. What would you tell her?
I did not take many of her phone calls
Why
because
not?
they weren't phone calls for us. They were phone calls for this stuff.
How do you know you didn't answer?
Because you left. Because she was leaving voicemails, I addressed it in a text message to her about stuff that she claimed was at the house.
All right, let's see them. You sent her a text message. This what months?
This is March of 2015, and this is July. And the voicemails
July
were the
of
same.
what?
July of 2015.
But she started asking you in August of 14.
She had been to the house and collected numerous things. I do have 2 plastic pallets.
She called 30 times in 1 month. Why would you not answer just 1 time?
I did respond in text messages, as a matter of fact.
You have any of those?
I do not.
Because it's odd that a person would keep calling you 30 times if you've already responded.
But let me interject.
She seems to have all of her faculties.
I understand.
Every one of them.
But we also met in October to exchange some things.
Mm-hmm.
She was at my house after that time to gather some things. So there was communication and answer to some of those messages to arrange those.
All right. That sounds like a person who is convinced that they have some things there and a person who, for whatever reason, won't respond to them about their things.
Those calls were made prior to her coming to get those things.
No, they weren't.
Oh.
One was made all the way up to the last day of October. So I don't believe that that's the day that she came to get her things, is the last day of October. And you say the reason you didn't respond is because that's all she was calling about. She wasn't calling to say hi. Maybe she would have said hi if you'd have gave her things.
She has good ringtones here on her phone.
What did it sound like?
Country music.
Music?
Yeah, country.
Yeah. Country music.
Yeah.
You have country music on
do.
your phone?
I do.
What items has she failed to give you? And you say you have some left.
I do have 2 plastic pallets and a computer chair in my garage.
All right, she asked for a chair. Antique clocks. You have those clocks?
There are no clocks in my house.
Well, they have to
antiques.
be
Those
there.
are the 2 most expensive things. Everything you just said you have is on this list, except for the 2 most expensive things. The $40, $50, you have those. But it just so happened the 2 clocks for $350. You don't have those, $350 each.
I don't even know that those clocks were ever in my house.
You dodged this woman's call, ma'am, 30 times in 1 month. I'm going to grant her judgment for $1,000. You admit to having some, except for the 2 most expensive items, and you dodged her call for an entire month. Judgment for the plaintiff.
I still love her like a daughter.
I don't
always
have anything
will.
to say. I really don't. You don't know somebody until they live with you. She used me. She took advantage of me. She lived
No, I
there
did not.
for free.